We have discussed how getting into debt can happen to anyone. And usually it's because of unforeseen circumstances, for example, reduction of working hours, redundancies, ill health, or other factors that are out of your control. Now if it happens to you, we need to discuss how you can get back on track. It may take time, but it has to be done. So, in this section we are going to talk about other debt solutions. Here is a selection. Debt consolidation. Administration order. Individual voluntary arrangement, or IVA for short. Debt relief order, or a DRO for short. And the final solution is bankruptcy. There are many other debt solutions that may be more suitable to you than a debt management plan. And we will look at some of them here. We will start with debt consolidation. At managingwithmoney.com, we often hear our customers say, "I'm paying too much for my borrowing, if only I could get a cheap loan and roll them all into one affordable payment. This would help to bring my monthly outgoings down." The thinking is understandable, but in practice it's not so easy to get such an arrangement. To get to this stage, there may have been some damage done to your credit rating already. So the opportunities to get an attractive low-rate loan could be fewer. Even worse, the only loans available may require you to use your home as security. These are known as homeowner loans. And they could put your home at risk of repossession if your repayments were to fall behind. Again, one thing is for sure. We strongly advise you not to pay for advice from commercial companies if you consider this route. A lot of commercial companies charge a fee, and they also receive a commission on the amount you borrow. This extra commission and fees will only increase the total of your final borrowing. So we recommend you take free advice before applying for any of these debt consolidation options. The next is an administration order. This is a formal and legal agreement is applied for at your local county court. If you have more than 2 debts, one of which is a county court judgment, or a similar judgment from a higher court, and the total debt is less than £5,000. You have to show that you can repay the order, even if it is at only £1 a week. The arrangement is that you pay an agreed monthly amount to the court, and the court distribute the payment in fair proportion to the creditors. If you maintain this arrangement, then the creditors cannot take any further action against you. If the repayment schedule does not repay all the debt over a reasonable timescale, then the court may grant you a composition order. This means that only part of the debt is repaid, and the rest is written off. Since this is a formal arrangement, you should discuss this solution with a free and confidential advice service from one of our recommended agencies. Now we will look at an individual voluntary arrangement, or IVA for short. An insolvency practitioner, or often referred to as an IP. They will arrange your IVA, or individual voluntary arrangement. They will propose to your creditors that all your disposable income. This is the amount you have left once you have paid your household bills. This is used to make monthly payments to them. In some cases a lump sum is paid, or a combination of a lump sum and monthly payments. Monthly payments will continue for an agreed period of around 5 or 6 years. After this time, your remaining debts will be written off. Once your creditors approve your individual voluntary arrangement, or IVA proposal, they are prevented from taking legal action to recover the debt. Your insolvency practitioner, or IP, will review your finances once a year, and send an annual progress report to you and your creditors. They are often the preferred option. If you can afford to pay something towards your debts, but not necessarily the full amount that your creditors want, you will need to show you have a regular long-term income, as the repayments will usually cover a period of 60 or 72 months, or 5 to 6 years. Once again, because there is a legal agreement to be made, it's best to take advice as to whether this is the best option for your circumstances. Let's talk about debt relief order, or for short, DRO. To be considered for a DRO, your situation must fit the following criteria. You owe less than £20,000 in unsecured credit debts. You are not a homeowner. You have no more than £1,000 assets. You have less than £50 a month income left over after you've paid all of your living costs. You will need £90 to set the DRO up. your debts are frozen for a period of 12 months. During this time your creditors agree not to pursue you for the outstanding debt, nor add further interest on the balances. If, after the 12 months, your circumstances have not improved, the debts are written off. Needs to be with an approved body, for example CAB, step change, national deadline or community money advice. A relatively new debt measure introduced in 2009 is a debt relief order for debtors who have no or few assets less than £1,000 and have less than £50 monthly disposable income and are not homeowners. The total debt must be less than £20,000 and there is a £90 fee which can be paid in instalments. Most debts are covered, apart from most notably student loans, child maintenance payments and fines. The debts are effectively frozen for 12 months, during which period no action can be taken by the creditors. It requires to be completed via approved intermediaries such as citizens' advice bureaus, step change, national deadline, pay plan or community money advice. A relatively new debt measure introduced in 2009 is a debt relief order for debtors who have no or few assets less than £1,000 and have less than £50 monthly disposable income and are not homeowners. The total debt must be less than £20,000 and there is a £90 fee which can be paid in instalments. Most debts are covered apart from, most notably, student loans, child maintenance payments and fines. The debts are effectively frozen for 12 months, during which period no action can be taken by the creditors. If after that period the financial situation has not improved, then the debts are written off. It is still a form of insolvency and will be recorded with the credit scoring agencies. Now we will talk about bankruptcy. This is usually considered the last resort. Bankruptcy is a form of insolvency, so your unsecured debts need to outweigh your assets, such as property or vehicles, for it to be considered. Unsecured debts can include things like council tax, rent arrears, phone charges, gas and electricity, personal loans and credit and store cards. Bankruptcy offers a fresh start. However, bankruptcy may prevent you finding or holding a job in the financial industry. If you have a car, you may need to downsize, if a car is needed for employment. If you're in business, you may not be allowed to trade, or be a director of a limited company. It lasts a year but stays for 6 years on your credit history. For many people, it's a relief. The final solution for debt is likely to be bankruptcy. In training to be a debt advisor, bankruptcy is always mentioned to be as a last resort. In basic language, an individual can be declared bankrupt if they can't pay their debts over a reasonable period of time. In times gone by, there was a real stigma attached to bankruptcy, your name in a local paper, the feeling that people were pointing at you in the street, a link with failure. In reality, this is not the case, and very few people set up financial arrangements and/or businesses with the intention of deliberately not being able to pay their bills or invoices. In most cases, bankruptcy happens when some unfortunate change of circumstances occur, such as we have mentioned already. For example, loss of job, illness and disability, relationship breakdown. If you are in business, it could be that money owed in never materializes, and it has a negative impact on cash flow, making it difficult to keep trading. It is still, however, a traumatic experience for many, as it displays an admission of helplessness and not being able to handle one's affairs. At managingwithmoney.com, we get many people who come to us and say, "That's it, I can't cope. I'm going to have to go bankrupt." However, it's not as simple as that. The process of going bankrupt currently costs £680 to make yourself bankrupt. And although it can be paid in installments, the full amount must be paid to the court before the order can be obtained. The decision for a creditor to make you bankrupt is not taken lightly either. With all the costs involved, they will have to decide whether they think it is worth their while, and if there is much likelihood of getting their money back. Most creditors will persevere with their own recovery procedure, or use debt collection agencies before proceeding with bankruptcy. If they can be sure the debtor has assets that can be disposed of, usually a house, then they may go ahead. An application for bankruptcy will be looked at by the Insolvency Service. You must have debts of more than £5,000 and the creditors must have tried all other legal ways to recover the debt. For example, a county court judgment. In the application, all assets will be listed and can be used to pay the debts. After 12 months you will normally be released or discharged from the bankruptcy debts. There are other things to be made aware of if you are made bankrupt. For instance, you cannot borrow more than £500 credit, or be a director of a company and it is recorded with the credit reference agencies. Your name is published in local newspapers and listed on the bankruptcy register. It may also restrict the type of your employment. For example, you may not be able to work in senior financial management positions. Until recently, most bankruptcy hearings were heard before a judge, which can be a daunting experience to contemplate. But now it is all mainly online and relatively painless. For most people it is an enormous relief and an opportunity to start again. That concludes our look at debt management. We hope you have found it interesting, and hope you have a better understanding on how to cope with debt and how to solve the situation. If it should ever happen to you, a family member or close friend, we will be adding updates and new videos on various subjects, as the subject of debt and financial matters are constantly changing. Remember, we always recommend you seek additional free and confidential advice if you think any of the information relates to you, a family member or a close friend. Below you will find details of the final part of the test. Good luck.